Hi, this is Randall with Carter Hill Honeybees of Northwest Alabama. Today I want to share with you a contraction that I call scoop and score that a good friend of mine put together a few years ago that you can catch swarms all the way up to 25-30 feet off the ground easily and safely. It's relatively inexpensive to build, and it will pay for itself the first time you catch a swarm with it. Okay, here is the items that I've used to assemble this swarm catch device that I call scoop and score. The yellow pole is just simply a paint extension pole. I think it telescopes out to about 23 foot. And the black can is a metal mesh garbage can. You can get at some of the hardware stores. I've seen them at a few over the years, or you can get them online. They're pretty inexpensive, about $5, $6 a piece. And then, as you can see affixed to it, I have I simply just took a paint roller and knocked the ends off of it and bend it around where it will kind of form to the roundness of the garbage can. And then I just used Gorilla Tape to tape it on there. And that's the way it's been for 5 or 6 years. I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but this worked fine. I've had to retape it one time, so I've probably caught 100 swarms with it. That works good for me. One thing that's important to add to this is where your pole screws in, it's going to need some reinforcement, or this won't last but about 2 or 3 catches. So I wrapped it real tight with Gorilla Tape around where the threads are, and then on top of that I put this water hose clamp. And since I've made that change, I've not broken this handle. I've been using this handle probably 4 years. When you get it together and you want to use it, you want to use the big end first. Stretch it out. And then if it ain't long enough, you stretch out the little end. Use the least of the little sections you can, because it's got the most flex. And I'm going to reach up here and touch a limb just to demonstrate how easy it is, and this is really pretty light. So if there's a swarm up at that height, I can easily get them in the bucket. And you'll have to work your way down towards the middle and transfer the weight down, and you can ease the bees down and put it in your box. The real magic of the scoop and score that we made is this black mesh garbage can, in my opinion. The previous device we used was a lot heavier, and this was intended to save weight, but an unexpected advantage come. The bees seem to remain calm once you dump them in there. And with a 5-gallon bucket, they just seem to boil out just as quick as you dump them in there. But with this, more of the bees stay in there. They seem like they're calmer, and the bees will light on the outside of it as well. And as you'll see in my demonstration clips coming up, it works really well. Also, every swarm I catch, after I discovered this part of it, every swarm I catch, no matter how low, I'll dump them in the bucket and then pour them in the hive. That way I've got control over when the bees get in there. And I even keep a little lemongrass oil rubbed on it, and that seems to attract them more. One day I was building some frames in the shop, and I had it leaned up against that tree that I touched the limb on a few moments ago. And whenever I come back out, to my surprise, a swarm had come out of one of my nukes and settled on the outside of the bucket. So I just had to lower it down and dump it right in front of my hive, and it was about as easy a catch as you can get. And that was about 20 foot off the ground. Using the scoop and score to catch this swarm, ease the can up there to underneath the biggest part of the swarm. I kind of rest the pole on the limb below, rack the limb, and try to get the bulk of the bees in the can. A lot of them's going to hit the ground. A lot of them's going to take flight in the air on the way down. It really doesn't matter what happens there. Also, I recommend you have on a veil. The bees will be aggressive the first couple minutes of this, and then they'll seem to settle down after that. As you can see, I've got frames removed, so I just go ahead and pour the bees in there in the box. And let them start go ahead and get used to their box there. I'll go ahead and ease the can back up, and you see that a lot of the bees have been gathering up on the limb. And I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to bump that limb and try to get those bees in there. Get them started. They'll be fanning up there in the can, and they're also fanning down there in the box. So I need a few minutes here for the bees to kind of make up their mind where they're going. So during that time, I'll ease over here and get my box fixed up by easing the frames back in. After a few minutes, I'll ease back over here, and you'll see a lot of the bees is landed on the can. It's practically covered with them. And I'll ease the can back down and position it in front of the entrance of the box and bump the pole and knock the bees off right there in the front. And that'll help get more bees fanning. Here's a different view of another swarm. I think you can have a little bit better view of the bees landing on the black can. And they seem to be really attracted to it. Also, as I've mentioned earlier, I do rub a little bit of lemongrass oil on it, and that helps attract them. And here's yet another swarm where I've done the same thing and got the bees lit on there, except I lowered them down in this instance so you could see just how calm and content they are. They feel just right at home on that black garbage can. It's just really amazing to me. My first means of catching swarms back before we come up with this, we just cut the limb off, shake the bees off the limb, or if they was up high, we would try shooting the limb off with a .22 rifle or a shotgun. And once they get that high, you have to start shooting limbs off, the odds of getting the bees are much lower. So several years back, me and a good friend of mine, we was talking about this, trying to figure out ways to catch these high up swarms quite a bit easier. So I seen this advertised in a bee catalog, and on their own we made a contraption using a 5-gallon bucket, and now I'm going to show that to you. And this is the device we used prior to the scoop and score with the garbage can. Here you can see our 5-gallon bucket device. We homemade a bracket and put through there and drilled a hole through there, and then we had a rope inserted through there, and it was designed to dump the bees and then pull the rope, and the lid would go over the top, trapping the bees in there. And it worked pretty good. It was pretty heavy and kind of cumbersome to work with that rope and hold it and let you pole down. All right, in order to attach the pole to the bucket, we had to have this special adapter. And then we went from the adapter to 1-inch aluminum conduit, which was the lightest option we had at the time. So that worked pretty good. I used 3 10-foot poles, and then I had a 5-foot section to where I could split the difference in half. So that gave me some adjustment. But believe me, a swarm of bees at the end of 30 foot of this 1-inch conduit, plus the weight of the conduit and all, is pretty heavy. On several occasions, I actually had the bottom section to bend 90 degrees, lowering the bees down. I almost had no control over it. And then once I caught the bees, I'd have to find me a couple trees close together and bend it back as straight as I could. So this was a big improvement over using and a lot more reliable than using a .22 rifle and shooting limbs off. The success rate with this was pretty good. But we just tried to find a way to improve it, in which we did. And I guess you can tell by how dirty this is, I haven't used it in quite a few years. And the bucket's pretty dry rotted as well. And that's how I've advanced for catching swarms in the past 15 years of my beekeeping career, going from .22 rifles through the heavy 5-gallon bucket device to the scoop and score I now use. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like, please hit the like button and subscribe. There'll be more videos to come. Thank you.